Tonight, the Oscars ended, and then ABC did something nobody in Bachelor Nation was fully ready for. They put 18 women in a room. Every bachelorette from the last 22 years. And they sat all of them down with Taylor Frankie Paul. And what came out of that room is the most honest, most emotional, most genuinely useful 30 minutes of television this franchise has produced in a long time. And I need to break all of it down for you right now, because these women said things tonight that the show has never let anyone say before. About loneliness, about manipulation, about what it actually feels like to watch your season back and realize you were in love with someone who was performing the whole time. And about what Taylor specifically is walking into in 7 days that none of them were warned about. We are going through every major moment from before the first rose, every piece of advice, every behind-the-scenes confession, every name that was missing from that room, and why it matters. And exactly what this special is trying to tell us about what season 22 is going to be. If you are not subscribed yet, do it now. The Bachelorette season 22 premieres in 7 days on March 22nd, and we are going to be covering every single episode. Now let us get into it. First, let us set the scene, because the timing of this special is genuinely interesting. The Oscars aired tonight on ABC, hosted by Conan O'Brien. The show ran from 7 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern, and then immediately after, with zero buffer, ABC dropped Before the First Rose, a 30-minute special designed to bridge the Oscars audience directly into Bachelor Nation. Normal people who had just finished watching Best Picture announced, and then suddenly there is Taylor Frankie Paul sitting in a room with Trista Sutter and Hannah Brown and Andy Dorfman and 17 other women who have all been exactly where Taylor is about to be. That is a specific programming decision. ABC put this special in the biggest possible spotlight they had available, right after the Oscars, on the same night, on the same channel. They are betting on Taylor Frankie Paul to convert a mainstream audience into Bachelorette viewers. And the way they framed the special is designed to do exactly that. Because Before the First Rose is not a hype reel. It is not a best moments compilation. It is 18 women telling the truth about what this experience actually is, and then handing that truth to the one person in that room who has never done it before. Now let us go through who was actually in that room, because the list of who showed up and who did not show up is its own story. The 18 bachelorettes present were Trista Sutter from Season 1, Meredith Phillips from Season 2, Deanna Pappas from Season 4, Ali Fedotowsky-Mano from Season 6, Ashley Hebert Rosenbaum from Season 7, Emily Maynard Johnson from Season 8, Desiree Siegfried from Season 9, Andy Dorfman Hart from Season 10, Kaitlyn Bristowe from Season 11, JoJo Fletcher from Season 12, Rachel Lindsay from Season 13, Becca Kufrin from Season 14, Hannah Brown Woolard from Season 15, Tayshia Adams from Season 16, Katie Thurston from Season 17, Rachel Recchia from Season 19, Charity Lawson from Season 20, and Joan Vassos from the Golden Bachelorette. Now let us talk about who was not there, because 6 bachelorettes were absent, and some of those absences are very specific. Jen Sheft from Season 3, Jillian Harris from Season 5, Claire Crawley from Season 16, Michelle Young from Season 18, Gabby Windy from Season 19, and Jen Tran from Season 21. Jen Tran is the most notable absence because she is the most recent bachelorette before Taylor. Season 21 aired in 2024. Jen was the first Asian American bachelorette in franchise history. She had one of the most controversial season endings the show has ever produced, when her final pick, Devin, asked her not to propose to him during the finale. And then he broke up with her publicly on After the Final Rose on live television. And then it later emerged that he had been in contact with his ex-girlfriend Gabby Windey throughout filming. Jen Tran not being in that room tonight is a choice. Whether it was her choice or the franchise's choice is unclear. But her absence is the loudest thing in the special that nobody said out loud. Gabby Windey, also absent, is notable for the exact same reason. She is entangled in the Jen Tran story in a way that the franchise has never fully addressed publicly. Her not being there and Jen not being there at the same time is a very specific kind of silence. Now, let us get into what actually happened in the special, because the content is where this thing really delivers. The special opened with a one-word game. Each bachelorette was asked to describe her season in a single word. JoJo Fletcher said, emotional. Charity Lawson said, serendipitous. Becca Kufrin laughed and said, boring, which is the most on-brand Becca answer that has ever existed. And then Tayshia Adams said, isolating. That word, isolating, from Tayshia, set the tone for everything that followed. Because what the special did for the next 25 minutes is let these women be honest in a way that the franchise does not usually allow. They talked about what nobody tells you before you step out of that limo. They talked about what it feels like to be surrounded by producers and cameras and a controlled environment for 2 months, and then go home to your real life, where nobody is following you around, and the person you thought you fell in love with is not returning your calls. Kaitlyn Bristowe talked about the loneliness of the experience. She said you are the center of everything while you are filming, and then it stops, and the silence is genuinely disorienting. She said she was not prepared for how hard the transition back to real life was going to be, even after a successful season. Rachel Lindsay talked about the pressure of being watched. She said there is no version of this experience where you are fully yourself on camera, because the awareness of being filmed never fully goes away. She said the best thing you can do is try to have real conversations and trust that the edited version of those conversations is going to be close enough to the truth to matter. Andi Dorfman-Hart talked about the proposals. She said, no matter how many times producers tell you that the proposal at the end is just a symbol of where you are in the journey, when a person gets down on one knee in front of you after 2 months of this intensity, it does not feel like a symbol. It feels like a real thing. And the disconnect between what the franchise treats it as and what it feels like in your body is something she was not prepared for. And then, Emily Maynard Johnson said something that the room went very quiet for. She said the hardest part of her season was not the competition or the cameras or the pressure of deciding between people. It was watching her season back after it aired and realizing that some of the most sincere feeling moments she had experienced were with people who were not fully sincere. She said there are people who are very good at performing connection without feeling it, and the show's format, which rewards those people, does not always give you enough information to tell the difference in real time. That is a brutal observation. From someone who has had a decade to sit with it, and the fact that she said it directly to Taylor, in a room, on camera, a week before Taylor's season premieres, is one of the more genuinely honest moments this franchise has produced. Let us talk about the advice segment, because each woman gave Taylor something specific, and some of it was extraordinary. Trista Sutter went first, because Trista always goes first. She is the original, Season 1. She and Ryan are still married, making them the longest-running Bachelorette couple in franchise history at over 20 years. Trista told Taylor to trust her gut above everything else. She said the producers are going to push you towards storylines. The men are going to say things that are designed to make you feel specific things, and the only compass that is actually yours in that entire experience is your gut. She said trust it even when the edit is telling you something different. Kaitlyn Bristowe told Taylor to let herself be messy on camera. She said the instinct is going to be to perform composure and grace because you are aware of the audience and aware of the franchise's image. She said, "Fight that instinct." She said the moments that made her season real were the moments she stopped trying to look like someone in a fairy tale and just let herself be a person having a hard time. She said the audience always rewards authenticity over perfection, every time. Rachel Lindsay gave Taylor the most strategic piece of advice of the night. She said, "Pay attention to how a man talks about the other women, not how he talks about you, how he talks about them." She said the men who are genuinely there for you will not need to tear anyone else down. The ones who are performing will. And that difference is a tell that Rachel said she wishes she had caught earlier in her own season. Joan Vassos, the Golden Bachelorette, said something specifically relevant to Taylor's situation as a mother. She said the men who are genuinely okay with your children will show you that without being asked. She said you should not have to sell anyone on the idea of your kids. If they need convincing, they have already told you everything you need to know. That landed differently in the context of Taylor's season specifically. Taylor has 3 children, Indy and Ocean with her ex-husband Tate, and her son Ever with Dakota. She said before filming that whoever gets her final rose is moving to Utah. She said her kids are not negotiable. Joan's advice was directed at exactly that, and it was one of the more emotionally grounded moments of the entire special. Hannah Brown-Woolard got emotional talking to Taylor about the post-season experience. Hannah's season ended in a way that was very publicly messy. She picked Jed. Jed had a girlfriend back home. She found out after the finale taped. She broke off the engagement, and then she went on Dancing with the Stars and met Alan, and they are now married. Her trajectory from the worst finale in recent franchise history to a genuinely happy marriage is one of the better stories Bachelor Nation has produced in the last decade. And she told Taylor that whatever happens on that show, good or bad, clear or messy, is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of it. That line, "It is the beginning of it," is the thing Taylor needed to hear above everything else. Because Taylor is going into the season already public in a way that no previous Bachelorette has been. Whatever happens at that finale is going to be documented and dissected in a way that is different from anything the franchise has done before. And Hannah's reminder that the show's ending is not the story's ending was genuinely meaningful. Let us talk about Taylor's reaction throughout the special, because she was not passive in that room. She asked questions, she pushed back, she admitted things. She told the group that she had been in a cycle before coming to the show that she could not get herself out of alone. She did not name Dakota directly. She did not have to. Everyone in that room and everyone watching at home knew what cycle she was talking about. And she said the reason she said yes to the Bachelorette was because she needed an intervention that was big enough to actually break it. That is an extraordinary thing to say on camera, on a promotional special for a dating show, on ABC, after the Oscars. She also said she was terrified of the limo arrivals. She said the idea of 22 men stepping out one after another and her having to be on and present and charming and warm for all of them in a row was the thing that kept her up the night before it happened. And she said something about her dad that stopped the room. She talked about her biological father, about how he died before she got to know him, about how the wound from not feeling chosen by a parent runs through everything she has done since. She said she thinks a lot of her relationship patterns come from that wound, and she said she is hoping that what she finds on this show is something that finally shows her what it feels like to be chosen without conditions. That is not a Bachelor Nation answer. That is a real one. And it is the reason 18 women who have all done this before were completely quiet when she said it. Hot take time. And this is specifically about what this special was and what it was trying to do. Before the First Rose is the most honest thing the Bachelorette franchise has produced in its 22-year history. And the reason it was able to be that honest is because it was not a regular episode. It was a reunion of women who have all finished their seasons. Women who have nothing left to protect. Women who can say, boring and isolating, and I was not fully prepared, and I watched my season back and some of it was not real. Without any of that affecting their outcome, because their outcomes already happened. They gave Taylor the truth. And the truth is that this experience is lonely and disorienting and full of people who are performing. And the only thing that protects you from all of that is trusting your gut and letting yourself be messy and paying attention to how a man talks about the other women and not letting anyone convince you that your kids are negotiable. That is the advice. From 18 women who collectively have more experience with this specific situation than anyone else on the planet. And whether Taylor uses it is what season 22 is going to show us. Drop this in the comments right now. Based on everything you heard from the 18 bachelorettes tonight, which piece of advice do you think Taylor needs the most going into her season? And which bachelorette's story do you think is most similar to what Taylor is about to experience? Because I have a very specific answer to both, and I want to see if this audience is watching the same thing I am. So here is the full Before the First Rose breakdown. 18 women. One 30-minute special. After the Oscars. On a Sunday night when ABC had the biggest possible audience it was going to have all year. Tayshia said, isolating. Kaitlyn said, let yourself be messy. Rachel said, watch how he talks about the other women. Trista said, trust your gut. Emily said, some of them are performing and the format rewards that. Joan said, the men who are okay with your kids will show you without being asked. Hannah said, whatever happens is the beginning, not the end. And Taylor said she came to this show because she needed an intervention big enough to break a cycle she could not break alone. And that she wants to know what it feels like to be chosen without conditions. 7 days until the premiere, March 22nd on ABC. And if Before the First Rose did its job tonight, a lot of people who just watched the Oscars are now going to be watching The Bachelorette next Sunday for the first time. Like this video if it helped you break down everything from tonight. Subscribe if you are new because we are covering season 22 episode by episode starting next week. And I will see you at the premiere.